treatments.
I'll fight you.
You go, Max. Search Vodafone Dreamlab and join the Dream Team tonight.
Dreamlab app is owned by Vodafone Foundation, an independent charity. Registration number 1089625. Full terms at vodafone.co.uk/dreamlab.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
Joins you 3 minutes after 7 on Monday, May the 11th. Not such a magic Monday, more a manic Monday, as people try to deduce exactly what the Prime Minister means as regards going to work by, not by public transport, by your car if you can, or that, of course, if you can't work from home. What of the travel industry? And you go away and then you come back and you're quarantined for 14 days. No word of what, by the way, means for the over 70s. And as for schools, well, possibly some easing by June. It is very confusing and mixed. We'll try and drill our way through. As I said earlier, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, less than impressed. I remind you, later in the show, not for a couple of hours yet, he'll be here taking your calls in related stories. Police had to take action about this party.
Greater Manchester Police arrest 7 at a house party which sees officers coughed and spat at. I'm LBC's Tom Dunn in Bolton with the latest.
This as senior officers express concern as to how these new measures, these slight easing of lockdown is to be policed. And we look around the rest of the continent. As I said earlier, demonstrations in Germany and Berlin where protesters clashed with police, and in Spain and in Switzerland sit-down protests too. We'll have the picture across the whole of the continent.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Let's put Europe to one side now, though, and focus very much on what we heard from the Prime Minister. Heavily anticipated. I have to say the newspaper's getting the message very, very wrong as regards publications last Thursday, when it was going to be a magic Monday and the country was going to be moving back to business. The number 10 moving quickly, though, the next day to control that. And then we heard what Boris Johnson laid out, perhaps a rather puzzling route map. Details, LBC's political editor Theo Usherwood.
Boris Johnson has announced the lockdown is coming to an end, but it is going to take time. People can go to work, but only if they can't work from home. From Wednesday, you're going to be able to play a round of golf or a game of tennis, but shops will not reopen until June at the earliest. The new mantra, stay alert, control the virus, save lives.
We're establishing a new COVID alert system run by a new joint biosecurity centre. And that COVID alert level will be determined primarily by R and the number of coronavirus cases, and in turn, that COVID alert level will tell us how tough we have to be in our social distancing measures. The lower the level, the fewer the measures, the higher the level, the tougher and stricter we will have to be.
That's alert level 5, tight lockdown, 4 severe partial lockdown, that's where we are now. And then it goes down to 3 substantial, 2 where there's a few cases in circulation, and then 1 when COVID-19 has been eradicated. Of course, schools have been closed since the start of the lockdown, but any return to the classroom will be phased.
At the earliest by June the 1st, after half term, we believe we may be in a position to begin the phased reopening of shops and to get primary pupils back into schools, in stages beginning with reception, year 1 and year 6. Our ambition is that secondary pupils facing exams next year will get at least some time with their teachers before the holidays.
One of the most significant announcements confirmed yesterday was that anyone arriving in the UK will have to provide an address where they will self-isolate for 2 weeks. There will be checks, break the rules and you face a £1,000 fine. In effect, Boris Johnson cancelled any summer holidays abroad this summer.
And to prevent reinfection from abroad, I'm serving notice that it will soon be the time, with transmission significantly lower, to impose quarantine on people coming into this country by air. And it's because of your efforts to get the R down and the number of infections down here that this measure will now be effective.
In recent weeks, there's been a lot of confusion about the over 70s at the moment. Those who are classed as extremely vulnerable are not allowed to leave their home, while those over 70 or people with underlying health conditions can only take infrequent exercise. Yesterday, the over 70s received only a fleeting mention from the PM and no update on when the government will lift the current restrictions.
And when I look at what you've done already, the patience and common sense you've shown, the fortitude of the elderly, whose isolation we all want to end as fast as we can, the incredible bravery and hard work of our NHS staff, our care workers, the devotion and self-sacrifice of all those in every walk of life.
And adding to the confusion, of course, there's a suggestion which we're looking at now that there's some kind of deal done between the United Kingdom and France that will allow the citizens, regardless of air travel, boats and whatever it might be, trains.
So there is the idea that there can be a deal with Emmanuel Macron, the French president, which will allow travel to continue between France. Of course, lorry drivers will be exempted, and of course, I should also mention Republic of Ireland, Channel Islands, and Isle of Man. Those travelling to the UK from there won't be subject to the rules. We're expecting a 50-page document to be published later today, which will provide more clarity, especially in the areas we've been talking about with the over 70s and extremely vulnerable.
And fair to say, and understandably, initial reaction from Labour Party and others is at best a little bit mixed, but there is confusion out there. There's social media fairly is it fair to say a very negative response?
It hasn't been the best response. Of course, Boris Johnson is under pressure from his own party. Many, including Sajid Javid, Michael Gove, the Cabinet Office Minister, want Mr Johnson to take a much harder line to get the economy back up and running. But at the same time, Boris Johnson listening to the scientific advice that if it goes too fast, too soon, then we could see a second outbreak of the infection, which would be deadly.
It seems Number 10 has moved overnight to say a reciprocal deal with the Paris government means restrictions will not apply to passengers from France. So that would seem to me that you can fly both the train to France and obviously vice versa. Theo Usher reporting. I'll hear from you later in the show. Let's turn to Conservative MP, former Health Minister Stephen Hammond. How clear was the messaging for you, Mr Hammond? Good morning.
Good morning. With all your listeners, I think, like everybody else, it was a preconditional message, and that, like everybody else, I'm listening to see what he says in the House of Commons today and to get a 50-page document.
But if I'm due back to work, can I go to work today? If I can't work from home, am I meant to go to work today or on Wednesday?
I think that my take on that was that you should be going back to work today.
Why didn't he spell that out?
But there are real problems, of course. Not only did he really spell that out, when you see that in the document today, but also trying not to use public transport and getting there. And therefore, a lot of London workers that isn't going to work. So I think the problem with last night was that we saw all the headlines, and a lot of it was very conditional. I've sort of slightly of a view. I'm not sure what else he could have said, because he recognised at the beginning it certainly reflected what people have been writing to me. Lots of people really fearful of the disease and don't want any movement, and lots of people saying, let's get on with it.
If I'm over 70, can I come out on Wednesday, or do I still have to stay indoors?
Well, you know, what you're highlighting is what I've just said, which is that we'll have to look at the 50-page document. I agree.
I appreciate it's very difficult.
It's not clear to anyone yet.
No, I appreciate it. But there are things I think you would agree, surely, Mr Hammond, that when you and your team are sitting there writing it, you have to, as much as possible, eradicate ambiguity. And these are two fairly glaring holes which appeared while he was talking, surely.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that for the over 70s, the message has never been as clear as a lot of people hoped. I mean, I don't think a lot of over 70s thought that they should exercise less than free. Some sort of big lockdown, and that was certainly clarified. I think there are a couple of other things that really the Prime Minister will need to be in that document today. I mean, about the trick point for new data and how that will then affect the decision making, how on earth that can happen. Also, he made the statement that there could be literally hundreds of thousands of more tests every day, and I want to see how on earth the government is going to move that up as quickly as possible.
And lastly, this new mantra, which I won't ask you to repeat because you're probably struggling with it as I am, but it's not going to be taken on by Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. How embarrassing is that?
Well, I think actually, to be fair, I think it's embarrassing for all of the nations. I think that it doesn't reflect well on Scotland that they've gone to a different messaging. I think it's also difficult to the government in that they haven't been able to pull out the four nations along. What does stay alert actually mean? I think that's less than clear.
But that's the British. That's your Prime Minister coming up with stay alert. How can I be alert about a virus?
Well, we all know a number of things already, don't we, about social distancing. That's what social alert means. It means stay alert if you work. It means, when you are washing, when you are moving around after you move around washing your hands. I don't think that part of the message is there. I think it's embarrassing for all governments that they've chosen to move a different speeds.
All right. I'm grateful for your time, Stephen Hammond. You are Conservative MP for Malvern and you are former Health Minister, 12 after 7. Let's do that. Bill Keevil, who's Professor of Environmental Healthcare at the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Southampton. So that's the political take. Let's get the health take in the eyes of the Professor. Your view on what you heard or have read this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Many people have already commented what confusion this has caused already. I was a bit surprised that actually they didn't treat it more like a budget, i.e. announce all the detail in the House of Commons today and then the Prime Minister address the nation tonight. So particularly this morning we've got potential chaos. So the Prime Minister talked about COVID secure standards. What are those? So if you're in construction and manufacturing, you're being actively encouraged to return to work. Well, if you can't walk or bike there, what transport do you use? You're advised to avoid public transport, but many people will have to use public transport. So what are the COVID secure standards on the public transport? No mention of personal protective equipment. Should people be wearing face masks or face covers? Obviously, if you're using these transport systems, keep your hands clean, so that's alcohol wipes as soon as you get to work. Wash your hands with soap and hot water, and then when you return home, first thing you do, wash your hands with soap and hot water. So this has all got to be really explained, and of course, when you're at work, what are the COVID secure standards at work? Will there be 2 meter distances? Will there be good washing station facilities? Again, should personal protective equipment be worn within the workplace? So this all needs to be discussed, and at the moment we're waiting to see in the next hour or two, are there going to be queues at train stations and bus stations, or if many people forced to take cars, are we going to get local carjacks?
Let me ask you this. You're an expert in this field, Professor. How do you think public, and you make a very valid point about public transport, how do you think public transport can function going forward?
Well, there is the problem that, the London Metro traditionally is jam-packed full of people. Now that clearly cannot continue as it is. So people have been saying the passenger density in a carriage should be 10 or 15% at most. So that could mean many queues. Are there enough underground trains, for example, to actually furnish that amount of people wanting to try to get to work?
Fascinating talking with you. We'll talk again through the course of this. I'm grateful to you. Bill Keevil, thank you, Professor of Environmental Healthcare at the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Southampton. We'll take your calls flooding in, and I'm not surprised because as I listened to it last night, I thought there's so much confusion. It's going to make for interesting conversations with you, and I want to hear your points, and we shall. There are other aspects, of course, of the story we need to cover. In Europe, as I've told you before, in Germany, there's actually been clashes between protesters and police. Also need to tell you in Australia as well, although we'll probably just focus on Europe initially. More peaceful protests in Switzerland, in Bern, where a number of people just sat down at the main station and refused to move. That's slightly more peaceful. But also, police called here in the UK.
Greater Manchester Police arrest 7 at a house party which sees officers coughed and spat at. I'm LBC's Tom Dunn in Bolton with the latest.
More on that in this hour. 7:16 now. LBC News headlines. Simon Conway.
Boris Johnson is facing calls for clarity after he set out the first sketch of a roadmap for easing the coronavirus lockdown. In his address last night, the Prime Minister said people in England who can't work from home should now return to their jobs, and the government will publish a 50-page document later setting out more details of the plans. The weather mostly dry but feeling cold, a high of 13 degrees.
OBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. So the M25 all back open now anti-clockwise at junction 31 at Lakeside. The restrictions in the Dartford Tunnel are currently being lifted, but there are still delays all the way back to junction 2 at the A2, and also on the M25 one lane is closed clockwise just after junction 6 at Godstone, where a car has broken down. Only one lane's open on the M2 eastbound at junction 5 at Sittingbourne. A tree's fallen into the motorway. The Rotherhithe Tunnel is closed northbound where a car has broken down, and on the underground the district line's not running from High Street Kensington to Edgware Road because of a signal failure.
This is LBC. If you want a career in media, your future starts here. The Global Academy, a unique school recruiting students for Year 10 and Year 12 who want to work in broadcast and digital media.
There's nowhere that really can offer what the Global Academy offers.
same thing, or interested in media, whatever it is you want to do.
The Global Academy, rated good by Ofsted. Get more info and apply now for September 2020. Search Global Academy.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
Plugging your way through the kids' schoolwork, pretending you always knew the capital of Brunei is Bandar Seri Begawan, when really you're frantically scrolling through the internet with your phone under the table, hoping that they just think you're an absolute fountain of knowledge. Whatever you rely on the internet for, rely on TalkTalk to stay connected. TalkTalk for everyone.
How does it feel when you stop smoking?
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
It feels good.
I was so proud of myself.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel a lot richer.
I just feel fitter and healthier.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
When you can't even predict what next week will bring, why tie yourself to a 12-month business insurance policy? Give your business the flexibility it needs right now with Digital Risks Online. Fully customized cover that you can add to as your business grows or change if your business evolves without any penalties. Digital Risks, award-winning pay-by-the-month business insurance for modern, fast-changing times. Get your online quote in minutes at digitalrisks.co.uk. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Xero, accounting software for small businesses that works anywhere you do.
19 minutes after 7, come to your calls. David, you'll be the first caller coming to you in just a moment. Let me, as I always do around this time of the morning, on weekday morning, give you the total of coronavirus confirmed cases around the globe now. Over 4,118,923. Deaths, 283,868. To the United Kingdom, the confirmed number of cases is 219,183, of whom sadly the number who've now succumbed to this virus is 31,855. That was a lift of 269. Condolences to any of you who are touched by this personally. The testing was just under 93,000, just over 7,000 short of the initial 100,000 target, so they did seem to get the last round of testing about right. Quickly through the front pages, and if not the headlines, certainly a lot of the commentary, what's called the leaders or the opinion pieces and the sketch writers, do pick up on the sense that there were at best rather mixed messages. The Daily Mail, Boris keeps the handbrakes on. The Times, PM sets out lockdown exit plan, just a hint of release from national imprisonment. The Times has on its front page that rather questionable new slogan, I'll give it to you again, stay alert, control the virus, save lives. The Eye says PM sends millions back to work. Those who cannot do their job will be actively encouraged to return. You might find it difficult though if they all drive in at the same time. The Guardian, PM's lockdown release leaves Britain confused and divided. I think that's possibly a more fair and accurate depiction. Johnson lays out 3-phase plan for getting Britain back to work, says the Financial Times. The Mirror, Daily Mirror, understandably critical. Lockdown Britain, it's chaos. The Daily Telegraph, the long road to freedom. The Sun, ready, steady, slow. And the Daily Express, our route to freedom in baby steps. David in Kendal, what do you take from last night or this morning, whenever you listen to it?
Hi, Nick. Basically, the stay alert is but I think Boris has actually done quite a good job, but the stay alert just is meaningless because how can you be alert? If a hoodlum, when you're driving get out on a Friday or Saturday night and you're with your girlfriend, wife or whatever, you're looking around to make sure it's safe.
Yes.
But you can't stay alert to a virus unless you've got X-ray eyes. My slogan, my thing would have been #social distance.
Right. Okay.
Because being in PR, I'm always thinking of how I would have done it.
Yes. So your slogan would just be #social distance.
The #social distance and save lives obviously is a good one, and that would have been it's just been you've got to keep it very. The messaging is that you've got to keep it very simple.
Let me ask you this: you say you think he's done pretty well. Where are areas where he's done well? Would you say?
He's now obviously the hospitality July, around about July, obviously we're not going to be able to do any concerts anytime soon.
No, indeed. Okay, well, as someone in the field, you think the messaging is there? I think a lot of people perhaps not smiling as favourably as you are on Boris Johnson. But David, I'm grateful, sir. You've got us started. We'll have more reaction in a moment. Now, a side story which made a number of the headlines in yesterday's papers is the reports of some kind of tension between the Prime Minister and Matt Hancock. This is over provision of kit and, of course, those testing numbers. Here with details as to whether there is or is not a split, LBC's political editor again, Theo Usher with Theo.
Matt Hancock, good morning, Nick, is a Secretary of State under pressure. Firstly, he made his target of 100,000 tests for people every day, but only just, and he's failed to meet that target day after day since the 30th of April. But then the real issue is this shortage of protective equipment for frontline care and NHS staff. There was the issue of the 400,000 gowns flown in from Turkey that didn't meet safety standards. And then we found out about 25 million pairs of goggles that failed tests to ensure they were adequate for the front line. Now, in a furious bust-up with Boris Johnson, Matt Hancock has demanded that the PM, quote-unquote, give him a break. Apparently, after leaving the room with the meeting with the Prime Minister last week, Boris Johnson made a rude gesture towards the Health Secretary. This issue of PPE isn't going away. Of course, we know about Abdul Chowdhury, the consultant who wrote to Boris Johnson to warn him about the shortages, and his son, Intisar Chowdhury, rang in to Matt Hancock when he did a phone-in with you last month.
Do you regret not taking my dad's concerns, my 11-year-old sister's dad's concerns, and my wife's husband's concerns seriously enough? My dad that we've all lost.
Intisar, I'm really sorry about your dad's death, and I've seen the comments that you've made and what you said in public, and I think it's very brave of you to be speaking out in public.
The money now is on Matt Hancock being moved from his big post as Health Secretary once this crisis is over. And now we learn, of course, that a group of doctors are planning to sue the government over the failure to provide adequate protective equipment.
And let's pick up on Theo, I should thank you. Let's pick up on that now with Dr. Jenny Vaughan, who's consultant neurologist and law and policy lead at the Doctors Association, bringing this legal action. Thank you for coming on, Doctor. What are the grounds for your case?
Well, basically, we believe that frontline NHS staff and care are essentially putting their lives at risk because, although we entirely accept that this has been a global crisis, we think there was a failure to prepare, and also there was stockpile of PPE that the government had, but it didn't include the right items. It didn't have enough visors, didn't have enough gowns, and a lot of the kit was out of date. And so we've got a situation here that we have where the consequences of these failures have been devastating. I don't know, I'm sure you're aware that nearly 200 healthcare workers have lost their lives. Now, we accept that not all of those are because they're not all work related. Some of them will have been acquired from the community, but some of them definitely will have been, because if you compare us with other countries, with looking at their healthcare workers, for example, Germany, we believe that they have lost 9. Many countries are talking about infections of healthcare workers. We seem to be talking about the number of healthcare workers we've lost. And the government clearly has a legal duty to actually hold an urgent inquiry into the failures here.
So is that what you're seeking?
PPE to its NHS staff and care workers.
So just to clarify, Doctor, you're seeking what, an inquiry?
Yes, we want to bring forward a public inquiry. We've issued a pre-action letter to them, to the Secretary of State for Health, to bring this forward. And the reason we've done that is that we know that normally public inquiries take a long time to come to fruition. Yes. But actually we're in the middle of a pandemic, and you just talked about quite rightly, you've heard from several of your viewers about lockdown easing.
Yes.
This is never an easy thing, we get that. But if that then comes out and then there's another second peak, then you have to learn the lessons. And the lessons can only be learned if you look at what you're doing at the moment and
Let me ask you this.
change things.
I'm sorry to talk about it because I'm fairly briefly, if you would.
Yeah.
When the government says, look, over the first weeks we moved 900,000 items of kit to 58,000 different destinations, that sounds not a bad effort, surely, Doctor? Which is the figures they quote, which are the figures they quote.
They're quoting those figures.
Well, that sounds pretty
as far
good.
As we can see, they had a significant warning before to move kits, all right, to get the kit that was
900,000 items to 58,000 different
but it's not just
locations.
about items. It's not just about items. It's about also the confusing advice that is given to healthcare workers, because we believe, and there's various publications that support this, that a much greater amount full-body PPE is what's actually the safest for healthcare workers.
I will leave it there. I'm grateful for your time, Dr. Jenny Vaughan, your consultant neurologist and law and policy lead at the Doctors Association, bringing this case 28 minutes after 7, confronted then pretty much from all quarters of the government. So what is an opposition to do? Well, Sir Keir Starmer, the newly installed leader of the Labour Party and leader of the Manager's Opposition, will be taking your calls later in the hour. And let's put some questions to formerly Stuart, now Lord Wood, who is a Labour peer, obviously, and served as advisor to both Ed Miliband and Gordon Brown. What sort of path should the Labour Party and Sir Keir be charting at times like this? Because I don't know that the country wants all-out aggression and naked opposition. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Nick. I think that you put your finger on a really important point. This is not a time for tribalism. This is a time to speak on behalf of people who have concerns and show that you're a public figure. And in a way, it's a tough introduction for a new leader of the opposition, A, because they're deprived of the normal oxygen of publicity you'd have, and secondly because these are not normal times. But he's absolutely got to put his finger on that sense that the tribalism has to be left behind. I think so far he's shown in his PMQs that he's someone who can be a great sort of cross-examiner-in-chief, if you like, of the Prime Minister. That, I think, has got to be the theme from now on. The second thing he has to do, of course, is sort out some internal trouble inside the Labour Party that's been sort of bequeathed by the Corbyn years. And he's made a good start on that too, changing the General Secretary and that kind of thing.
I was going to ask you, so much of us, Lord Wood, we focus on the health of the nation. That was actually my question. What is the health of the Labour Party as you see it at this time?
Yeah, that I think is a concern. In a way, he's got a period now when he can attend to some internal business without the glare of publicity. I mean, the health wasn't great. There's lots of discord inside the sort of party machinery. And there's a really important sort of scene which he has to bring his own people in and have Jeremy Corbyn's people sort of take a back seat or move out. And that has to be done in a clear way to reassure a lot of people in the Labour fold. I think the really tougher thing, though, looking back out towards the country, is that there'll come a moment when the country will want to know what kind of Britain we're going to rebuild. And that's a chance